I have chosen the best friend's brother as the anchor for my story. That weekend, just as the autumn rain began to tap the windows, I stood in the quiet kitchen of a lakeside cabin and found my breath catch at the sight of him. The brother I had kept at a careful distance for years. The one who had grown older and stronger since his divorce. The man who felt like both trouble and rescue all at once. I am 37, a wife in a calm, curated life. A woman who thought her days would stay neatly mapped out. A steady job, a steady partner, and the steady rhythm of small joys that tell you are safe. My husband was kind and patient. The kind who folded laundry with a smile and believed in the ordinary miracle of routine, while our friends spoke of us as the couple who had found a quiet kind of happiness. On the surface, our marriage looked unbreakable, built of shared coffee cups, mortgage papers, and the long, soft years of knowing one another's footsteps. So when the door closed softly behind his car and the rain began to fall harder, I felt the first tiny crack of something I had not allowed myself to name for a very long time. A dangerous, delicious hunger for someone else. The weekend was supposed to be a reset, a chance for our circle to pretend for a little while that nothing had changed. I watched him move through the room with the ease of a man who knows his own weather, the weather of his own heart. He spoke little, listened more, and every word he did say landed with a careful resonance that made me lean in, as if to catch an echo of what he hid beneath the calm. We walked by the lake with our shoes in our hands and the laughter of our friends fading behind us, and the air tasted like pine and rain and something else I dared not name. I told myself this was harmless, a weekend of distraction with my best friend's brother, a man who understood me best when I spoke in simple sentences about work and plans and the small stubborn dreams I kept to myself. It was not harm I felt. It was a slow, delicious danger, a current running just beneath the surface of ordinary life. The inciting moment arrived with a phone screen lit in the dark of the night, a quiet blaze of messages that did not belong to a shared life. I came home to a living room that smelled of candle wax and the faint sting of something metallic. My own nerves, perhaps, sharpened by a fear I would not own aloud. My husband's voice was calm and careful on the other end of the line, the voice I had learned to trust over the years. But the words he spoke cut clean through the safety I wore with a second skin. He would tell me later that the night he walked away began with a simple truth that he could no longer pretend was not true. He had fallen out of love, and the life we had built together no longer fit him the way it used to. He would say that it was not about me, not about us, and I would want to believe him with a stubborn kind of faith, even as the room grew colder and the air kept echoing with the hollow sound of his departing footsteps. The betrayal did not come with a scene or a shout. It came as a quiet, patient wound that bled into every corner of the house, in the creak of the stairs, in the way the kettle no longer sang on the stove, in the way my breath made a mist on the window. In the days that followed, the house became a hollow vessel that I moved through with careful steps and a head full of questions I did not dare ask aloud. I walked the halls listening to the rhythm of my own heart, the slow air-rhythmic drum that kept time with the fear of being alone again, of starting over, of realizing that I might never again be the easy, certain woman I had always believed myself to be. The taste of copper filled my mouth after each bitter discovery, a harsh reminder that pain can have a flavor and stay with you long after the latest outrage has cooled. I kept the door to the guest house closed, even as a soft light leaked from under the door and the quiet presence of a tenant, the young man, who rented the little studio behind our house, made the home feel less suffocating, more like a place you could breathe in again. He was kind, respectful, and funny in a way that did not pretend to know the full weight I carried, yet he offered a small, honest form of relief with his steady hands and unassuming wisdom. He fixed the leaky faucet, brought tea when I could not sleep, and never pressed for more than I offered him in return. He did not know the name of the ache in my ribs, but I think he sensed its shadow, and that shared space between us became a kind of ambiguous bridge, a place where a secret could hover, without forcing itself into the light. Then came the moment when I realized that the heart I had tried to seal away could still beat with a stubborn longing for a man who had once been a forbidden spark and now stood on the edge of a second chance. He did not rush me with grand declarations or fierce promises. He breathed in the same way a storm breathes, careful and inevitable, and I felt the old pole rise again at the edge of my vision, in the way his eyes lingered a moment too long, in the way his hand brushed mine, as if to check whether I was still here, still listening to the same quiet music that played in a room no one wanted to admit existed. It was not a choice I wished to make, not a path I had planned with the careful steps of a woman who never wanted to fall into a trap of forbidden wages and whispered confidences. But when the lake turned a pale gray at dusk and the air carried the scent of wet earth and rain, I found myself stepping closer to him, toward the possibility that love could mend what fear had torn apart, that perhaps a second chance could be more than a quiet mercy handed to a wounded heart. The truth landed with a hard, honest thud. I wanted him near me, not as an escape from pain, but as a future I might dare to trust again. If this confession has you holding on the edge of your seat, you are not alone. If you crave more of the truth that fills the quiet between two people who refuse to pretend, hit like and share, because you will not believe what happens next as the weekend ends and the first quiet dawn of a new balance rises over the lake. I stood at the edge of the dock, the water lifting my reflection into a soft, uncertain mirror, and I felt the blush of a choice I had spent years believing I would never make again. The old rhythm of fear and caution paused for a heartbeat, and in that pause, I saw a future where the best friend's brother did not stay a dangerous secret, but became a kind of map, guiding me toward a second chance that felt both terrifying and true. I chose to listen to the part of me that believed in the possibility of happiness recovered, not just happiness remembered. And I stepped back from the edge with a careful resolve that felt like a first word spoken after a long silence. The week after that weekend, the messages between us shifted from cautious, careful lines to something warmer, rarer, the language of someone who had learned how to carry love in a gentler way. Not as a storm that breaks a roof, but as a light that makes a house a home again. The tenant in the back studio kept his silence, offering nothing but his presence, and I understood that sometimes a second chance begins with a breath you take when you choose to stay. As the sun rose over the water and the mist burned off the surface, I knew I could still choose to repair what was broken, to listen to the quiet truth that love, even when forbidden, can find a way to become a future you want to live in. If you crave more raw emotional confessions, please like, share, and subscribe. Your next chapter awaits. The best friend's brother had become more than a rumor in my mind. He was a doorway to a new life I had almost forgotten to believe could exist. And I walked through with a cautious heart and a hope I had learned to protect but not kill. The future was now a slow, hopeful flame, and I planned to tend it with the care that love deserves. Emotional storytelling, forbidden love, second chances, mature romance, infidelity in marriage, love after loss, grief and healing, tenant love story, romantic narration, YouTube romance, healing through love, slow burn romance. Older woman, younger man. Heartfelt story, true feelings, emotional connection, faceless love, Olivia and Marcus, narrative romance, love found me.